Hello, guys. Good morning. Good morning. We are at Real Life and Law, fellas. If you're streaming, let me know what you're thinking. This is part two of an experiment. I'm new at this and just want to say hi, guys. Today's topic, I am an attorney, by the way. Today's topic is employment, your workplace woes, I believe I have it titled. The number is on the screen 559-335-3331, or it should be there. I hope it's there. I am live, guys. This is a show where you are the driver of the content. If if you don't supply the content, I you don't supply the content, I can't do anything about it. You've got to give me some content. Let's talk about, give me some questions, and you can uh, ask me a question in the chat. I am on all the major platforms right now, it looks like. We've got the YT, the TT, and the FB. So just looking in, guys, and let me see if I can fix this real quick. Uh, it's a little weird doing all this myself. I usually get my daughters to help me, so I'm going to try it solo to see what uh, see how I'm faring on this. It's rough when you're not. I'm visually impaired, so if I seem a little sluggish with some of this technology sitting here, you will hopefully forgive me, guys. I'm an attorney. I've done a lot of employment work, all kinds of things like that, dealing with HR and people getting in situations at the workplace, dealing with a bad boss, even going so far as trying to figure out how to ask for a raise, how to deal with a cantankerous boss, or uh, just workplace injuries. I've done just a few workers' comp cases, not enough to really call myself a workers' comp lawyer, but I have assisted people with workplace injuries. Uh, Interesting, in some states, you have to follow the workers' comp guideline, and there are specific things you should know when it comes to injuries in the workplace. So, guys, tap, share, follow. Somebody, somebody say hey. And guys, you can send me a message if you're looking in on me on my live stream on YouTube. You can send a comment, and it will come through my ears through the magic of the internet. And I'll be able to hear your comments. I hope. That's the plan. That is the plan. So, guys, tap, share, and follow. Hey, 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 someone's telling me on the TT channel. Guys, I'm multi streaming. So, I've got a couple of things here looking at all my comments on all these platforms. So, thank you, guys. No, I don't have a big screen. Someone wants to know if I have a big screen. I do have a my equipment is new. Hopefully you all can hear me. I need to know, somebody let me know if we're coming through good, if you can hear me. If you can hear, just give me a holler. And it does help, guys, if you're on these other apps. Do what you need to do to get this show pushed out. Good morning, guys. Someone through the TT is shouting out and telling me good morning. Guys, we're talking about workplace today, workplace problems, workplace boss. I think I titled it workplace woes. And all right. Thank you. I'm glad you hear me. So good. I'm waiting for the first YT comment to come through to make sure my earphones are working because I don't have them tied up my normally. A lot of you all that watch me streaming on some of these other platforms, my headphones will read the comments to me. So the way that this platform works is that all my channels are going through this one stream, and these headphones work with my Facebook and the YouTube, as we say, the YouTube. So right now, I haven't had a chance to test. Good morning. All right, my first comment of the day. I feel like it's Christmas. I got my technology working. My headphones are working with my YouTube channel. And I'm assuming the comments will come through on Facebook. Somehow about this program, this is a beta program. And any of you know about technology, they always run a beta. A beta program is kind of a test program, so they don't have all these channels where the comments will be filtered through. Right now, my comments are filtered on 2 channels. So I'm monitoring the, TT channel. I am in Kentucky, guys. Those of you somebody wants to know, I am licensed in Kentucky and West Virginia. Now, that doesn't mean I can't help you out wherever you're at. The law is a weird thing. There are some particulars in the law from one state to the next, but as a general rule, laws are basically the same. The bigger thing that varies from one state to the next are the rules, the procedural rules, and in criminal cases, sentences are different. But as a general rule, the principles of the law are roughly the same. So if you have an issue, as I tell people, if you got your ass in a crack, you really need to be getting hold of a lawyer. Once you get to a situation where you're not sure what's going on and you've been dragged into a legal process, it's uh, time for you to try to find a lawyer. I tell people there's 3 ways, well, basically 2 ways that if you it should set off warning signals that you need a lawyer. Number 1 is if you stand to win or lose money, you should get a lawyer. If what's about ready to happen to you, whether or not you initiated it, because you get dragged into stuff, the longer you live, the more likely it is you are going to become involved in the process, legal process. And a lot of times, not of your own choosing. So if you stand to win or lose money, you should get a lawyer. If you stand to lose any freedoms, now that doesn't necessarily mean incarceration. That means your freedom of speech, your freedom to see your kids, freedom to go inside a store or to go to a particular place. If you've had an EPO is a restriction, an emergency protective order is a restriction on your freedom. So if you're in a situation where you stand to lose some of your freedom, if you stand to win or lose some money, you should get yourself a damn lawyer. Uh, Guys, I'm monitoring all these comments if I can, but we're going to talk about workplace. Let's start off. I'm going to start off with the basics, a little bit of primer here until we get some comments. and some questions. Again, this show only works if you help me supply the content. So, I'm gonna move this slide over here just to see what it looks like up in here. There, a little bit better. Um, how to find a job. And guys, don't forget you can call 559-335-3331. How do you find a job? It's always funny. It's always funny. As a prosecutor, um, I prosecuted in West Virginia, in Mingo County specifically, for a lot of years. And it was always troubling to me whenever I had someone come before the court and I was a prosecutor. It was always troubling to me the number of people who said they were looking for work, uh, but just couldn't seem to find a job. And so, in those rare occasions when someone would ask me for sincere advice, the number one thing about finding a job is first figuring out what type of work you want to do. Now, there are a certain number of people that will work at anything, and that's okay. But if to truly find something that you're going to hang in there for the long haul, you need to find out what your skill set is. What are the things that you're good at? That's the question you need to ask yourself first. You need to write those things down. Write down all of the skills that you think you have that make you valuable as an employee, as a worker. And then all of those things that you have written down that make you valuable, you need to then begin to look at the types of jobs that are out there that match the things that you're good at. That's the most basic thing you can do, is truly get an understanding of what your skill set is. What's up, Steve, on YouTube? Thank you very much for the comment. So there are two there are two instruments, two tests. They're surveys. They're called surveys, but we call them self-tests that you can take that'll help you along that journey. And one of them is called the self-directed search, SDS, self-directed search. You can find them online. You may have to pay a few bucks, or if you go to your local community college, the career center. Most every college, university, community college has a career center. You should go and make friends with those counselors and let them know that you're trying to get back into the job market or trying to get back into the educational field. And they may have some resources, but it's called the self directed search. That um, will give you an idea of the types of jobs based on your skill set. It'll ask you a lot of questions about your skill set and all of that, what the kind of things you like. And then it'll give you a panoply. I'm using a big word now for a hillbilly. Panoply is a big old word. It'll give you a whole menu of jobs that you might be interested in. There's another instrument that will help you narrow what your actual skills are. Instead of things that you like, it will measure and give you information on things that that instrument thinks you're good at, what your skill set is. A lot of people have no idea what they're good at. And you cannot possibly find a meaningful job or meaningful employment unless you really know what your skill set is. Uh, I'll answer that question in just a minute. If I don't get to it, ask it again. Someone wants to know about a workplace, uh, about a lawyer. Basically, a lawyer uh, got out of their case. So I'll talk about that in a minute. The other instrument is called the ASVAB, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. If you are honest with this instrument, now you got to be honest with all these things. You got to answer these things truthfully. It's all about you. And if you really want to know about you, those two instruments, when you get ready to find a job or get ready to engage the workplace, will serve you well. So the ASVAB, you can find it online as well. Find it online. Take it with those two instruments. If you really study the reports that are generated from those two instruments, you'll be on the way of finding a meaningful job, good, solid employment that fits you and that you're going to be satisfied with. Now, once you do that, understand there ain't no perfect job. If you're looking for the perfect job, there ain't one. So someone in the comment, that's a little off topic, but that's good. I appreciate the comment. Thank you, guys. Someone in the comment says that they were fired, or their lawyer basically fired them. Their lawyer stepped out of their case and they were appointed another lawyer. So the question is, can they do that? Yes. If you've been court appointed an attorney, it happens. Unfortunately, it happens regularly that lawyers come and go. And if you had a lawyer that got out of your case or could no longer represent you because of maybe a conflict, then it is not unusual for them to appoint another attorney. So that's just the way it works. Guys, thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Let's talk. 559-335-3331. If you have some type of an employment issue, let's talk about it. You can call me or you can ask me a question. You can ask a question. Ask a question, Hatchet Head. So once you have that job, or once you find out what you're good at, the next step, obviously, if we're laying this out in a line, is to find a job, find a job. And I've always had the belief, unless you're really struggling for a job to pay the bills, if you want meaningful employment, a good career path type of job, the best way to do that is to find out the area that you want to work in and then try to volunteer in that particular industry. Volunteer. Once you volunteer and you get locked into that facility, that job, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a law office, whether it's a social service agency, whatever it is, a lot of places will engage volunteers. So if your particular career path or industry is open to volunteers, that's the best way. Volunteer first, because when you volunteer, you got your foot in the door. And when your foot is in the door, whenever there is a potential job that pops up, you'll be privy to it. So that's the best way. When I got out of law school, the job market's tough for lawyers. And instead of hanging out a shingle and working for myself, I volunteered first. I volunteered at the county attorney's office for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then finally they hired me. They hired me on as a part-time worker. And that got from my perspective as a lawyer, that got me engaged in the process. It got me to where I was on a level with some of the lawyers. I networked. I would sit in court. I was in that prosecutor's office. I was seeing how that part of the law worked. And then from there, I got my first job in West Virginia. So So that's where I first, but it all starts with volunteer. I tell a lot of people, if you're in the medical field, volunteer at your local hospital. Because if you volunteer, and let me give you a tip about volunteering, treat it like a job. Treat your volunteer hours like a job. And what I mean by that is, of course, you're going to be nice and courteous and dress appropriately and all of that. But get you standard hours. If you're volunteering, go to the company, the HR department, or whoever's overseeing the volunteers, and get you a set schedule. And I'm going to tell you how that's important. Getting you a set schedule so that they can rely, so that the employer can rely on you, even though you're volunteering. You want to pay particular attention to showing up when you say you're showing up. That's why schedule's important, particularly if you're volunteering, because what you want to happen, what you want to have happen is that that employer or that company should be after a while, they should begin to rely on you. So that way, if you're not there, they get aggravated, because that means you are performing a valuable task for them. So you want that employer, that company to become dependent on you. And so it's important, in order to get that, to foster that type of relationship, you should volunteer, get you a set number of hours, and then work it like it's a job, because then you can network, you can build relationships, and when other things fall open, then of course you're going to get hired. So those are some of my big tips when it comes to getting a job, finding a job. And then once you get hired, there's a whole nother bunch of stuff you need to be doing. So guys, instead of me yammering on, if you've got a workplace problem, 559-335-3339. Give me a call, give me a holler, as I say, and we'll talk about it, or about anything else. I will entertain questions from anywhere else. Someone's saying that I got a studio. Yeah, it's a kind of a makeshift studio, but a studio. I'm trying to learn this social media stuff, guys. I'm trying to learn it, trying to get good at it. And so I'm going to focus a lot on a lot of these other platforms. So I want you all to help me out. Engage your friends. Let them know that there's this old hillbilly lawyer out here, and he is trying to make something of himself. And it's helpful to me. It's fun for me. I enjoy it. I do like practicing law, but I like doing stuff like this too, pranking around and trying to get outside my comfort zone. Guys, I'm going to, as I always do on a lot of my shows, it's the morning time. So I've got me some tea here, Earl Grey. I drink Earl Grey, and every now and then I'll drink me a little bit of Lady Grey. So I'm going to try to drink me some tea here. Fixed it. I've been on a diet. And I was on the scales yesterday. I've lost about 4 pounds since I've started dieting. I've had 2 kidney transplants, and I've been trying to keep my weight around 145, and I'm a runner also, so I try to keep my weight down, so running doesn't have such wear and tear on my body. And so over the past 3 or 4 months, I picked up about 15 pounds. I got up to 163, which sucks for me. I don't like it. I've lost over 100 pounds. When I had my first kidney transplant, I went the night before my first kidney transplant, I weighed 128. And in 6 months after that, because I was on a very restrictive diet. I was very sick. And I ballooned up to 247. I mean, I got fat. Oh my God, it was terrible. They load you up full of prednisone and you eat like a pig. And I wasn't able to run. Before I got sick, I was running about 60 miles. My first transplant, I was running before my first transplant, before I got sick. What's up, Denise? How are you? Thank you on YouTube. Thank you, Denise, for joining me over here on this channel. I was used to running. My first kidney transplant was in 91. Back then, I was running about 60 miles a week. And, calories wasn't a big deal to me because I was burning them off. And then when I had my transplant, I couldn't move. They didn't want me to run. They didn't want me to exercise. And so I had to wait till things settled. And then they load you up with this prednisone. I was eating about 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day, and I wasn't exercising. And holy cow, there were people that saw me because I mostly stayed home. There were people that saw me 6 or 7 months after that and didn't recognize me. I mean, I was fat. I had me a whole set of fat clothes. And I just finally decided I had to put the brakes on and get back down to where I felt good about myself. And I was trying to get back into running. Hello? Have I heard from who? No, I haven't. They said between 8 and 9. I know, baby. But you know the way these people are. They tell you that and then they don't. I've not had any missed calls. I've answered all my calls. So, all right, baby. I love you. Now, this is live. This is live streaming here. That's my wife. We're selling our condo. So, it's a pain in the ass to sell a piece of property. We have a condominium in Florida. We have a place here in Kentucky. This is where I'm at right now. I'm in Kentucky. We have a place in Florida. We have 2 places. We purchased a home with my daughter in South Daytona, so we're selling our condo. We've had it for about, I think, going on 5 years now. And dealing with all these service providers to have them come in and take care of stuff that was on an inspection report has been a big pain in the ass. Guys, come on now, tap, share, and follow. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I am left-handed, so it's hard for me to navigate some of these devices I've got. Thank you, guys. I've got a bunch of moderators that help me out. I want to say thank you to all the moderators in the chat that help me out and help me do what I do. Guys, and let's not forget, you can send me a message. You can call me, and I am here live streaming on YouTube and TikTok. I'm going to be here for a while. It is 9:30. I have a call. One of the things I do with my social media is I try to give people information that they can't get anywhere else, that they can't access easy enough. I try to help people out and help them out whenever their rear end gets in a crack. And so I have some links in all of the appropriate places you can find them. And in those links, you'll see a lot of stuff. I do have some merchandise. I have some books. I'm a writer. I've been writing for 40 years. And I'm a grant writer. So I've got right now 4 books on my link. I've got some merch. So take a look at it, guys. That helps a brother out. These streamers that do all this work, they hustle now. It's streaming. Now, I don't do, money is not my primary motive for doing this. It's fun for me. I enjoy it and I'm learning a lot. Uh, so let me see. I'm learning a lot and I like learning. I consider myself to be a lifelong learner. And I always I never shot. Thank you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth found me. Elizabeth is my daughter. She's in the chat here. Um, and I'm just learning this iPad too. So I've got a big learning curve ahead of me. So if we go to this Eugene.
Hi, Eugene. This is John with Jaws Electric.
Yeah, we were. My wife was actually waiting on you.
Yeah, I just called to let you know I'm heading there right now. I should be there right around 10.
Now you know how to get in that building, right? With that panel and the numbers that you have to punch to get access.
Not the numbers that I have to punch now.
I believe it's. I believe. Well, I believe it's star. It's either star 67 or pound 67. The instructions are right there on the uh on the keypad. But
All right.
it's around the side of the building.
Okay.
All right, but call me. Now I'm not there, but my wife is there. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
All right, pal. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So now I'm gonna have to call the missus because let's see. He said he's on his way in about 15 minutes.
All right.
I told him about the keypad. I couldn't remember the number. Do you know the number that you have to?
69.
It's star.
I don't know if it's star or pound.
So okay.
It tells you on there.
I told him just read the panel. All right, baby. Love you. Guys, this is your show. So we go from, guys, you know what? I'm going to keep talking until someone gives me a question. Uh, but I'm giving you kind of a little seminar on employment and what you need to do and some of the tips that I have learned over the course of me working in HR departments, working with HR departments, and even running my own company. I've had a couple different companies and businesses. Um, and so we talk about getting that job. Um, Once you have the job, once you've been hired, well, let's talk about the interview process because that's if you're getting a and I hate to say it this way, but most every job interviews you. However, there are interviews and then there are interviews. If you're working fast food or you're working some type of an entry level job, interview process ain't much. They just want to see that you got transportation to and from work. They want to get an idea in that interview process. They'll probably run a criminal background check. They just kind of it's not much. They're not going to do a big deep dive on you. But now if you get in a job or you're trying to find a career oriented job, and that's not saying these other jobs aren't career oriented because they are. It is shocking how much money you can make working at fast food or working at Walmart or Target or one of those types of jobs. You can figure out what's going on within that company and you can climb that ladder and make a shit ton of money. I mean, that's true. Um, but you're going to have that interview. And so when you get an interview, it all starts with your resume, and there's all kinds of stuff we could talk about resume, but I'm not going to do that right now. When you get an interview, the number one thing you can do before you go to that interview is use your damn phone or your iPad, whatever device you have, use it to look up that company. Get an idea of what that place does. Understand what kind of work they do, maybe some of their clients, maybe they got a Facebook page. You look at their Facebook page and look at some of the comments. So do yourself a favor. Understand that company. Know what they do and what their mission is. Because when you get an interview, they're going to ask you some of those questions. They're going to want to know, because I always ask when I've interviewed hundreds of people for jobs, and I always ask, tell me what you think we do as a company. I always ask them, what do we do? What is, I had a company and we had a program called Upward Bound. It was a federal grant program. And I always asked the people that interviewed, what do you know about Upward Bound? And it was shocking to me how many people could not answer that question. And it's right there on the internet, courtesy of our vice president back in the day. Right there on the internet, what Upward Bound is, what we do. And I was shocked I've always shocked at the number of people, young people too. I'm not talking about dinosaur people. I'm talking about young people who had no clue what we did. And it's right there. So find out what the company does. Because once you do some of that research, you might find out you don't like it. Once you look at their Facebook pages, once you look at their Twitter pages and all their social media, and you look at comments, you might think, oh, shit, do I really want this job? Do I really want to work with these people? There's all kinds of negative comments out there. See, back in the day, before the internet, I would advise people to go to that business that you want to work at and go in. You don't got to say nothing to nobody. Go in and look around for brochures and newsletters that they might have laying around. Because company used to, back in the day, bragged on themselves through their brochures and newsletters. Or go in, if it's a big facility, just go in and sit down and watch. Just go and sit down and watch. And you'll see how it's organized and how they treat their employees. So you put yourself a little bit of work on the front end. It makes your job a lot easier on the back end when it comes to determining whether or not you want that job. So that's one of the best things to do to prepare yourself for an interview. But research the job, research the company. And because again, you might find out that you really don't want to work there. The second thing, the second biggest mistake people always make in an interview, number one, is not knowing who you're going to go work for, not knowing a company. Um, you should be able, this is a closing technique. If you want to close that interview, you should be prepared for a minute, what I call elevator introduction. It's an elevator introduction. You should be able to tell that employer when they ask you, because they will ask you, what makes you think you're qualified for this position? You should have that 1 minute speech about who you are, and what your skills are. Brag on yourself. If you don't brag on yourself, nobody else will. And that's closing that job. You're going to close it. You're getting a chance to talk about yourself. You want to let that employer know as much as you can in as little time as you can who you are and why you think you're good for this job. So you can't possibly tell that potential employer why you're a good fit for that company unless you know what that company does. So that ties into that. But that's the biggest mistake, particularly I see with young people. If you're under the age of 30, you probably are not used to bragging on yourself because we've been taught as a society, particularly if you're a young man, you ought not do that. That's toxic. We can't have men bragging on themselves because that's toxic. We're used to ladies bragging on themselves because they do it a lot. But men, if you're under the age of 30, you've been kind of kowtowed not to brag on yourself, not talk on yourself. So you should always have that elevator. And I'll tell you, that elevator presentation is going to be good for you in polite society when you're at a party and you're at a mixer and you're meeting different people and you're trying to, you should always, if you ain't working or you're looking for another job, you're looking to improve yourself, you should have that 1 minute introduction presentation ready. That's a good question. So someone wants to know, uh, how do you make sure you don't oversell? Well, overselling is things like I'm the best in the world. I'm the greatest. Well, our president does that. Everything he does, and this is not a political statement. That's just his nature. He is a promoter. He's been doing it his whole life. He promotes his businesses, he promotes himself, he promotes every damn idea he's ever had. It's the greatest, it's the best. I don't think you go on strong like that. The way you do it is you have a conversation. First off, it's your tone. It's a conversational tone. You never want to talk about things you haven't done. You want to be able to show receipts if called upon to do so. For example, I could give you my elevator presentation right here. If I met you and I was in a networking situation, I would say, "Hey, my name is Eugene Cisco." And if they say, "Well, what do you do?" Well, what kind of things do you? Well, I'm an attorney. I'm also a writer. I've written most of my life. I'm a grant writer. I spent 15, 20 years writing grants, a lot of big grants. I'm a school teacher and I'm an attorney. I do a lot of criminal law, family law. And I might try to say something funny. I might say, yeah, I kind of specialize in helping people get their rear ends out of a crack. I was a prosecutor uh, and worked a lot of family law. So there's a lot of things I've done. There ain't nothing I probably wouldn't do um, if it was legal. And then I would say, I'm here in town looking for a position, and just here's my card. If something comes up that you think might be a fit for me, keep me in mind. But you say facts, you talk about yourself, and it's hard. So what I just told you kind of scratches the surface of what I do. I gave a range of the stuff that I do, what my qualifications are, without really bragging, but just give someone a taste of what you are, who you are, and then let them ask questions. You throw out the bait and you let them ask the questions if they want to follow up. If they're interested, they'll ask you questions. Keep your answers short. You know, you don't, so you keep it conversational. You keep it as a matter of fact. And as far as being the best, I don't like words like that. Um, you just tell people what you do. And if you've got an accolade like if they ask me what type of, like, say, someone might follow up grants, that's a pretty interesting topic. What kind of grants do you write? I would say, well, I've written several grants. I've written grants for spouse abuse shelters. I've written grants for programs that educate disadvantaged, at risk youth. I've written substance abuse educational grants. Um, and I might, depend on how they go, I'd say I've probably written over the course of the last 30 years about $20 million worth of grants. Um, so I would say it like that. I've written, over the course of years, about $20 million worth of grants. So that's going to pique their interest. So that's the way I would address that. So once you throw out your 1 minute presentation, just sit back. If they're interested in what you've got to say, if you've given them enough of a taste of who you are, they're probably going to ask you some more questions. So, they're probably going to ask you some more stuff about yourself. So, and keep your answers short and succinct. Always try to be positive and upbeat. Always have a smile on your face. In an interview, have a smile on your face, dress appropriately, and have that speech ready. If you're going, and appropriately is what I mean by, that's something you'll know by looking at pictures on Facebook or of the company, or going even into the company and looking at how people are dressed. If you see how they're dressed, then when you show up for the interview, you should try to mimic uh, that style. You dress appropriately, speak in clear, complete sentences, speak loud and proud. I had a law school professor that his phrase was, he taught us tax and estate law. Say it loud and proud. When you're going to say something, say it definitively. Don't shy away. Don't talk to somebody with your head down. Look them right in the eyeballs and say what you're going to say clearly. And don't be ashamed. Say it. Um, and don't ask, can I ask you a question? Ask the question. If you want to ask a question, don't ask, may I ask? Now, sometimes I'll do that when I'm interviewing someone. If I'm an interviewer, I'll say, may I ask you how old you are? Or, something like that. There's ways that you can ask somebody. Um, so be clear, concise, look people in the eyes, and speak loud, speak clearly. The worst thing that you want to have happen is to get in that interview. And it takes some practice to speak with authority, speak with some assuredness. It takes practice. The worst thing you want to have happen is have that prospective employer say, could you speak? Or they'll say, what'd you say? What? I didn't hear you. If they had to say that a couple of times, they're going to get tired of it. So practice, speaking, standing up tall, looking at yourself in the mirror, and say what you need to say. That is always good. So the interview process is a big deal. We'll go through a couple more spots on this. I've got a little time here. 9:47. I think my call is at 10 o'clock. There's a whole lot more stuff that I would talk about, but you all have not asked me any questions. It don't have to be on employment, fellas. We can answer anything. I am looking on my calendar, see when my call is. Guys, tap, share, follow 559-335-3331. If you have an employment issue, you can call me and we'll talk about it. We'll get you up here and we'll talk about you and your employment issue. There's my link. It is 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. So I've got some time here, fellas. This is going to be a hell of a boring program if you all do not engage. Tap, share, follow. It doesn't hurt you nary bit. Not one bit does it hurt you to follow me, leave a comment. I see I got a bunch of people here on the TikTok channel. I don't know how many's looking in on me on YouTube. Probably nobody. Or Facebook. Probably nobody. But we have 60 some people right here from TikTok. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's at 10. Someone told me, I think it's my daughter, just sent a message. Yeah, I know it's at 10:30. I saw it just now. So guys, let's talk about you. 559-335-3331. I will entertain any kind of a question. What's up, Ed? Ed is looking in on me. How you doing, Ed? Hope you got your walk in today. Ed is a regular. I've gone to know him. He's talks a little bit here on my other platform. We have wanting to know an update on my condo. People that follow me on other social media platforms always want to know what's going on with the condo. We started selling our condo several months ago because we purchased a home with my daughter, a multifamily home. We're getting at that age now, me and my wife. And we accepted an offer, and now we've had an inspection. So we've got these service providers coming in, um, fixing some of the shit that I am based in the US. Uh, so this inspector come in, which we didn't have happen to us when we purchased. And so they nitpicked and nitpicked and nitpicked. And so now we're down to there were a couple things that the buyers wanted verification that things was done. I'm like, gosh damn it. So we did accept an offer and it was more than what we purchased the condo for, which is good. We put about 60 grand into that condo, I don't know if I was really looking, maybe about $40,000 we put into it. New paint, put some crown molding, took the popcorn off the ceiling because it had popcorn on it. It's a really good condo, 1,800 square feet, beautiful ocean views. If you're 16, if you're a 16-year-old boy, you could hit the ocean with your stream, uh, standing on the balcony. So we love it. But my daughter moved down where we're at, and we purchased a wonderful home, and she has busted her ass. Her name's Elizabeth. She's sometimes here in the chat, and she helps me co-host my live stream. So we're going to do more of that as I get comfortable with this equipment. We're going to do more of that and have her on and have us some fun. I don't know what happened at the HOA meeting. I don't know. Our condo is part of all these condos have a homeowner association. And a lot of these homeowners associations have gone under great scrutiny now, and they're developing laws, particularly in Florida, to push back on some of the onerous um, restrictions that these HOAs impose, a lot of which are illegal and unconstitutional. So finally, some people are pushing back, and we're getting our legislators down there in Florida to kind of write legislation on them. So, guys, tap. Oh, I always say tap, share, and follow. Guys, subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. Subscribe, show me some love. Look at some of and I'm going to start here probably next week, scheduling more people to interview. I'll have some people and we will just do live stream interview. That'll be interesting. All of my other interviews before have been pre-recorded. I'm going to do some live. Good morning, someone. It looks like Karen. I can't tell that this voice recording sounds horrible, but thank you for dropping a comment in. Going to do some live streaming with some guests. That will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Who knows what's going to happen, but I've got a couple of people on mine. I've got an archaeologist who happens to be a prosecutor friend of mine. Thank you very much for the question. Do I have a schedule? Almost always when I live stream, and I'm going to do it more often. Now on YouTube, I'm going to be doing mostly in the mornings. Now my other platform, my other TT platform, a lot of these platforms don't like you talking about each other. But on my TT platform, one of the really popular ones, I'm there a lot. So if you follow me on that page, if you subscribe to this page and set your notification, I will be here almost every morning between 6 and 10. Now that time varies a little bit, depends on what I've got going on, but between 6 and 10, I'm going to try to do me some live streaming on my YouTube channel and also at the same time on my other platforms. But you can catch me almost any popular social media. And thank you for looking in. If you're from Europe, please tell your friends, and maybe I'll make me a connection, and maybe I'll get over that way, and we can have us some tea and crumpets, or whatever it is you eat or drink over there. So thank you very much for. I will have a good day, and you have a good day as well. Thank you very much for that. I love it when we have good. Let me see. Cancel. I don't know why I pressed. I had a notification. Look, my computer thought I was trying to leave. All right, guys, let's see what we've got on this other platform, fellas. I'm trying to monitor both of these. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we got. When I do my live streaming, there's a lot of these people that come on and beg for money, and they're telling me they're going to give me $10,000 or $5,000, and all I got to do to get that money is to say God bless or thankful. They usually want me to say something, so they'll give me money. You don't know how. Well, thank you for watching me on there, and I'm trying to grow this channel. So those of you that are on that platform, I would love it to get to show YouTube that we are cooking over here too, cooking on the YouTube, because that's where it is, you know. And I'm trying to get my monetization up too. So let's talk. Lastly, there are 3 things I wanted to accomplish today about employment. Nobody has given me any juicy employment problems. 559-335-3331. You can call me and we'll talk about some juicy employment problems. How about it? So, anyway, the last thing I'm going to talk about is when you get that job. When you get the job, got some words of wisdom here. When you finally get the job, you've made it through the interview, you've locked in an hourly wage or a salary, maybe you've even signed a contract, and you're there. The best thing you can do is treat your job like a job. These people that you work with are not your friends. You can be friendly to them, but I personally tell people you should avoid hanging out with some of your coworkers on a regular basis. You shouldn't do it because that could cause you a huge problem later on. You want to be professional, you want to get in, keep your head down, do your work, do your job, and ask for more work. That's the way to keep your job and advance through the ranks. Let your supervisor know you're there to work, you ain't there for bullshit, and you are ready to do whatever they need you to do to benefit the organization. If you, oh, oh, thank you. I'm gonna give you a golf clap. I love golf claps. Joseph asked about giving a raise. Joseph, if I don't get to it, repeat it. So I got one more tip, guys. When you finally lock in that job, look at your handbook. Look at your handbook. Get familiar with it. Get familiar with the procedures for asking for time off and sick time. Get familiar with the rules of the organization because that handbook might be your savior one day. Because whenever you have a problem at the workplace, the HR department or your supervisor will use that workbook to beat the hell out of you with. So you're going to want to know what you can do and what you cannot do. The employee handbook manual is going to be your Bible. So how to ask for a raise. I love this. You don't know how many times I have coached people on how to ask for a raise. And thank you, Joseph, for that. I'm going to tell you the worst thing you can do when you're asking for a raise. This is the absolute worst thing you can do is go to your supervisor and tell them you would like a raise because you need it. I need a raise. Everybody wants more money. Everybody needs a raise. Your mindset needs to be that you deserve a raise. You deserve a raise because you, while you're there at work, have done X, Y, Z. Show receipts. When you go into that office and you ask for a raise, first off, I wouldn't do it after 6 months. Look at your handbook and it will tell you if raises are incremental and when they are given. If there's no information about scheduled or regular raises, then gather the information. And one of the ways to do that is to take note of everything you've done that's over and above your normal work, right? If all you've done at your job is do what's been asked of you, I don't know that warrants a raise. I just don't think it does. It's like these baseball players. I'm going to digress just a little bit. It always bothers me that these athletes, in the middle of their contract, they want to renegotiate for more money. I don't get that at all. I would never, if I was an owner unless I had a player who performed so far above expectations, then they deserved a raise. I would never entertain it. If you just did your job, if you just did what was asked of you, why do you need a raise other than you want one? And that's the worst position to put yourself in, is to just go and ask for that increase just because you want one. Everybody wants a raise. Everybody wants more money. But the essential question you need to ask yourself, are you prepared to convince the employer that you deserve a raise? Do you deserve it? What kind of extra training? And so another way to do that is to say, to be able to show your employer that you have created more money for the company since you've been there. You've saved them money. You've found things. Now, you don't want to shove it in their face, but you do want to make mention of it. And that's part of standing up tall and letting your supervisor know, well, since I've been here, I've done this, this, and this. This is over and above. And I'm happy to do it, but I would like to see if we can negotiate more money. And here's the big hammer. Now, you got to be ready. When you ask for a raise, you got to be ready to be turned down. And you've got to be able to think to yourself, if I get turned down, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So the best way to do that is to compare yourself with other people in that industry, in other companies. You can say something like, well, I've been here for a year and a half, and these are some of the things I've done that I think have made the company money or saved them money. Because if you're saving money, you're making money. And you will want to do your research and say, well, I've looked around and there are other people doing exactly what I do in other companies. You never want to compare yourself to Joe in that company. Don't ever talk about to your supervisor, well, Jimmy's making this. I should be making as much as Jimmy or Nancy. They don't want to hear that, because most employers do not like it when people talk about how much they make within the company. They don't like it. That's going to make you look bad. But the way you frame that is, other companies pay people like me this much. Don't get involved in the micro about your coworkers and other people in the company. Always position yourself to talk about what your value is among other companies similarly situated with your credentials. So asking for a raise is there's an art to it. There's a process to it, and it takes you a little bit of work. And, you've got to be willing. And it's always a good idea to do it after an evaluation. See, that's the time at which you should do it, not when you have a crisis. And you don't know how many people I've had come into my office say, well, I bought this car and I've got, more car payment. I'm trying to put another kid in a daycare, so I've got daycare. And so they're telling me all their bills and why they need more money. I don't want to hear that. It is demeaning to you. It makes you look weak, and it's not a compelling argument to say I need more money, because damn it, everybody needs more money. The compelling argument is to say, I've been here this long. I've done these things, and I believe that it's my time here has made the company more money. And, the things that I have done in these other companies, my value would be this. Always know what you want to ask for. Don't leave it open. I think what I'm asking for is this. Put a target on it. Put a target on it. Don't leave it open. Put a target. Give yourself a position to negotiate. If you just say, well, I'd like to have some money, they're going to ask, well, how much are you thinking about? Well, I haven't really thought about that. Just whatever. I've actually had people say that. It's just whatever. But they'll tell you what their bills are first, and then they'll say, whatever. That's a that's a horrible, unconvincing argument. So do your homework. And then when they tell you no, some employers will say, maybe not at this time. We're doing some things, but I do see some positions opening up. They might, instead of tell you no, they might actually tell you a hard truth. They might actually lay a truth bomb on you and tell you, you know, I I just don't think that your position is worth at this company. I don't think your position is worth what you're asking. That's a truth bomb. You got to be ready for it. And never go into that. And lastly, never go into that negotiation with an ultimatum. Give it to me or else. Now, if you do the or else, if you play the or else card, you damn well better be prepared to or else it. You better be prepared to find another job. And you do that by looking around and getting a feeling for what the market is. What's the likelihood of you getting another job in your particular area? So be ready. Don't do the or else, because you'll be or elsed. If I can make up a word, you'll be or elsed. Don't let that happen. So you don't want to be in a position. Some people's laughing at me in the other stream. You don't want to be in a position to or else yourself, because it's uncomfortable. Uh, anytime you're in a negotiating position and you do an or else, I would never respond. I don't care how good the employer was. If somebody gave me the or else, I'd probably fire them, because they're not going to be happy. Because if you do the or else, you've got to do the or else. and, and unless you're prepared, don't use that. Well, Ed in the comments has said he's quit a job on the spot. You can do that. But when you burn bridges and you quit jobs on the spot, you ruin yourself for future employers. That's just a bad idea to do. The only way that I would ever do that is if a supervisor or somebody did something to me so egregious that I couldn't handle it. When you quit on the spot, you are not doing yourself any favors. But Ed, I appreciate it. That's a lot of people do that. That's short-sighted, I think. All right, guys. I think if I don't have any questions, fellas, listen, I've enjoyed this. It got off to a little slow start, but we picked up some comments. Again, I'm going to encourage everybody to, if you like, because I'm going to put this out on my social media pages as a video. I hope it's helpful to you. I just scratched the surface on employment situations. We really didn't get into any problem solving on the workplace. Maybe we'll do that later. But and maybe do some stuff here on how to build a resume and some things that I just kind of scratched the surface on today. But I appreciate it, guys. Listen, if life and law collide in your world and you ain't got nowhere to go, you don't have anybody to turn to, and you're really looking for information and guidance, there's only a few things you can do, guys. There's only a few things you can do. So somebody tell me, if your rear end's in a crack and you ain't got nowhere to go, nobody to talk to, so what do, fellas? What do you do? You got a couple of options, fellas. You can book a call. You can go to my link. You can book a call. Uh, or you can give me a holler. You can send me a message. So, guys, thank you very much. And until probably tomorrow, I might be back on here live streaming. So, let's do that. Thank you guys very much. I do appreciate it. And I'm going to see how I can get out of here. Thank you. Somebody, so I'm trying to find out how I get out of this stream. With my visual issues, it's awful hard for me to look around and see how to get out of this stuff once I get, here we go. I didn't go down far enough, guys. So thank you again. I really do appreciate all the support. Again, set your notifications here on YouTube. You know what to do on those other platforms. I'll be here in the morning and we'll talk a little bit. Thank you, guys.